CIA officers, dedicated as they are to serving their country honorably and well, deserve recognition of their efforts, and they also deserved not to have every action analyzed, second-guessed, and criticized on the front pages of their morning paper.
General Michael Hayden not mincing words at all. He wants the CIA to be a spy agency and not have America's secrets made public for all the world to see and hear, including Al-Qaeda. So is this the guy who finally plugs the leaks? With us now is David Bossie, the president of Citizens United Foundation. David, good to have you.
Thanks for having me.
So is he the guy?
Well, I certainly hope so. We haven't had a great CIA director since Bill Casey. In the 80s. I think George Bush's biggest failure, in my opinion, and I'm a conservative leader of a conservative organization in Washington, and George Bush, and so I support the president, a lot of that he does in the war on terror, but his biggest failure was not replacing George Tenet immediately upon taking office, because people want to criticize what Tenet did in the pre-war intelligence, good or bad. The biggest failure was all through the 90s and leading up to 9/11. Those failures at the CIA and NSA, for that matter, are what the American people should still be demanding answers for. And unfortunately, it's blown off, and really the left continues this attack on pre-Iraq war intelligence, which are good questions.
But let me ask you, David, what would you do or recommend the country do to the people who are leaking this information?
Well, look, it is a difficult thing when you have reporters haranguing you on a daily basis at the CIA and NSA, and there are people, reporters, the Washington Post and others, the New York Times, that love to wine and dine these CIA and NSA employees to try to get information out of them and basically develop these relationships over years, which I think you saw the woman who, and her name is escaping me, who was fired just last month by then CIA Director Porter Goss. These people, when you're dealing with national security information, cannot be leaking. You have to have people in those positions. I was in a position in Congress as chief investigator in the 90s when I was in possession of a lot of interesting information that found its way on the front page of the Washington Post and other publications, but it had nothing to do with the war. It had nothing to do with intelligence matters. Those were political issues.
Yeah, but what if we have a situation where the leak here, if it turns out we're all fussing over a story that's not true, if it turns out the USA Today thing is not true, and so the administration is trying to defend the fakery.
Look, Neil, I don't know if the USA Today story is whole cloth or what have you. There have been a lot of reporters in this town that have taken liberties, as we've seen over the last couple of years. I will tell you that I hope a program like that exists. In Congress, we used in a very similar tactic, getting subpoenaed telephone records, doing the backwards research, finding those phone numbers, the new leads, and finding them and tracking them to the people that we were looking for.
David, thank you very much. Have a good weekend. David Bossie in Washington. Well, she was hired on the spot to work for